Hello my friends, we have some of the good news for today, and the good news are that there is no any significant movement in Bakhmut city or Solidar. So let's go here and let's go to the timeline. It was yesterday, it is today, no any changes. It means that Ukraine was able to build the defense lines in Solidar, and it was hard to do because the Solidar is under constant Russian attacks these days. They announced the ceasefire 3 days ago. That's the usual Russian strategy. They may announce one thing but then act opposite. Never trust the Russians. Now let's go to Kremina because we have some sort of the movement and we are getting close to that city. Russians were able to put defense lines, so it's not that easy. However, Ukraine took Davydov under control today, and it's the great achievement. It's not just the fields or something, it's the village. It is still very hard to get villages under control in that area because Russians put lots of the forces there. Speaking in general about the area around Bakhmut, I would say that there is the great threat for the Solidar, but not great for Bakhmut. Still, with the forces that we have in the city, Russians simply cannot capture it. Okay, Russian officials say that they paid back for the Makivka disaster. Just to remind you, they lost hundreds of soldiers over there, and today they say that they fired to Kramatorsk for some sort of the buildings, destroying them, and they counted around 700 Ukrainian soldiers who appeared under the debris of the buildings. So most of them were wounded or lost their lives, but actually it's false. Let me show you the pictures. So those are the buildings, as you can see, the residential buildings, but the shells went close to the buildings, not hitting them. There were some of the garages behind the buildings. Even Russian Telegram channels, they say, no, it is not like that. Russia fired some shells, but didn't hit the target. And who say that Ukrainian military men were there? We don't have the information. And here we have the photo of particular building. As you can see, it stays but without any windows or something. The shell hit very close to it, not destroying the structure. And Russians claim that there were hundreds of the victims, but no, it's not like that, my friends. There was a big exchange of the war prisoners today, so around 50 Ukrainian warriors returned back to Ukraine. And it's great that we at least have the communication channels to exchange the war prisoners, and it's important not just for Ukraine but also for Russian people, I think. The joint forces of Russian and Belarusian armies will conduct the military drills on the Belarusian territory on 16th of January, and they will go till the 1st of February. What they're going to do there, I think just the training, or maybe playing the scenario of the intervention to Ukraine from the north again, but with the forces they have right now, it's not going to happen. They need to announce the massive mobilization. Again, corruption scandals in Ukraine. So this is the press secretary of the border police of the south region, and she was visiting quite a lot of the places, very expensive places, and she celebrated the new year in Paris, actually spending the money that she didn't declare. And what we know, that she works for this guy, at least worked. I think there is the prosecution now against this general, and even Cuban passport was found. That is why we have this funny meme picture over here. So as you can see, even during the war, there is some sort of the corruption in Ukraine, and the people who are responsible for many things, they think that it's ethical to go and celebrate New Year in Paris with all of that expensive stuff at the same time that our guys are dying in the front lines. Her colleagues, actually, because there are lots of the border police guys who lost their lives during the conflict, and they were the first ones who were fighting against the Russian invasion. The one thing, if she would have celebrated on her own, but she posted those pictures, and that drove our society mad, and it's a big scandal now in Ukraine, where she got the money from and the other stuff, ethical stuff, and whether it's suitable from the border control officials to do that stuff. Obviously, it's not okay. We already know about the modification of the Bradley vehicles that will be delivered to Ukrainian army. Those are armored infantry vehicles, it's better to say. Those are M2A1 ODS, which is a great modification. Those have nice communication systems and the fire control systems, also thermal cameras and other stuff that you basically see on this picture. And some extra armor plates help to protect the vehicle. Some of the officials from Bundestag officially called Chancellor Olaf Scholz to deliver the Leopard tanks to Ukraine. And again, I want to say that I'm sure that we're gonna have those tanks in nearby future, like maybe 2 months or something. And this is Brazil. The supporters of the ex-president who lost the elections entered the parliament building. I think you may recall this similar stuff in the United States, and police already cleared the territory from protesters. So that's the image of police, and then they took the building, probably it's the roof, and they continue to fire the rubber bullets and tear gas, and protesters already left that area. Today, China reopened the borders, and they went from the zero COVID policy to completely open state. Probably they afraid of the rights that they had, and then they decided to tighten the zero COVID policy. Then they start to build some of the rooms to isolate the people, but now it's a total opposite. But what they have now is the huge surge in the number of infected people, and that is very bad strategy. So I would say that Europe took the nice strategy. And after all, I would say Australia and New Zealand, they were closed for a long time, but after all, they hadn't had that surge in cases as China or maybe even United States. So everything went well for Australia from what I know. In Ukraine, it was hard, and still we were in lack of the vaccines at the very beginning, but luckily now it is okay. But they say that there is the other variant of the virus, and obviously it's better to take care, my friends. And it's the hard day for Ukrainian aviation, and for me personally, 3 years ago, Iran shut down our airplane near to Tehran, and we lost many of the people whom we knew in my airline, and it's the personal tragedy. It will stay with us forever, and it's nonsense what was there and what is still happening. And Iran continued to provide Russia with weaponry to destroy Ukrainian civilian infrastructure and cause losses for civilian people. It's just crazy what Iran regime does to Ukraine personally and to other democratic countries. So I hope that in the future Iranians will get rid of their regime. There was the attempt last year, and I hope riots will continue next year, and they will finally dismiss the leaders of their republic. And we have the tactical map update. The situation in Bakhmut and Solidar looks different. As you can see, Russia is almostly surrounded the Solidar. The only supply line that the Ukrainian army has is from the western side of the city. But Ukraine started the counterattack and took back some of the territory. Sorry, I need to paint it with the blue color. So here we go with the Ukrainian counterattack, and hopefully we're gonna drive Russians away from the city, because now they struggle in getting the city under their control still, even though they took the city suburbs and almost encircled the city. My friends, I'm gonna keep you updated on situation in Ukraine. If you want to support this channel, just press the like button. If you want to support me financially, there are some of the links in the video description below. You may support me on Patreon, PayPal, or Donatello, whichever is more convenient for you. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.